So class, today we're going to be reading Birches, and birches are a kind of tree. We see it over here in our picture, and we see the name right here. In case we weren't believing Mr. Wimbley, it says Birches on a winter morning. So we don't have very many of these down in Reno. We do have some of them that look similar up in the mountains by streams. So this is going to be a poem that we're reading, and remember some features that we have in poetry. We have rhyme, so words that sound the same based on their ending. We have rhythm, so that's the beat or the pattern of the poem. We have meter, and we have stanza breaks. So remember, stanza breaks are when we group stuff together in poetry. It's kind of like his paragraph. But I want you to look at this and notice this doesn't really have any stanzas. It's not really grouped together in certain paragraphs like we would say. It does have indents like right here, but that's just showing me that's part of this sentence up here. It's saying that the sentence continued on. It couldn't fit all on one line. So this poem's a little bit different than others. Also, I want you to notice that this poem, as you read it, doesn't rhyme like a lot of the poems we've been used to. So we're going to read lines 1 through 20. It's not listed by paragraphs, it's listed by lines in poetry. And I want you to follow along while I read it. Birches by Robert Frost. When I see birches bend to left and right, across the lines of straight or dark trees, I like to think some boy's been swinging them. But swinging doesn't bend them down to stay as ice storms do. So notice how these birches, they're bending down. They say it reminds them of swinging on trees, but when you swing, you let go at one point. These ice storms, they don't. They're holding that tree down. So continue back on line 5. Often you must have seen them loaded with ice, a sunny winter morning after a rain. They click upon themselves as the breeze rises, and turn many-colored as the stir cracks and crazes their enamel. Soon the sun's warmth makes them shed crystal shells. I like that phrase right there. Shed crystal shells. That sun's warming them up and is melting that ice. Shattering and avalanching on the snow crust. Such heaps of broken glass to sweep away. You think the inner dome of heaven had fallen. They are dragged to the withered bracken. Now, I don't know what bracken is, but it does have that little one next to it. So I'm going to look at the bottom and notice I don't have that little one down here. So it means that I accidentally cut it off. So we're going to look back in our benchmark and pull it up for us to see what bracken means. So we go to our part and then we open it up. And now notice bracken down here, it says a fern-like plant or a cluster of these plants. So it's a plant that looks like a fern. So let me show you what a fern is. Not Fernley High School nearby. So these are ferns. So it's saying it's looking like this kind of plant. So let's continue. Bracken by the load, and they seem not to break, though once they are bowed, and bowed means like a bow and arrow, it's curved, so low for long, they never right themselves. You may see their trunks arching in the woods, years afterwards, trailing their leaves on the ground, like girls on hands and knees that throw their hair before them over their heads to dry in the sun. So to say sometimes the snow weighs them down so much that even after it melts, they've been bent and they stay in that shape. Now, when the poet writes that he sees birches bend to left and right, I have to ask myself why the birches are bending. So I'm going to make that annotation. So up here it says, birches bend left to right. That's a question I have. Why are they bending? So I mark it with a question mark, and I'm going to write it in the margins what that question is. Why are they bending? And then, remember, we make it a little bit bigger so we can see it better. Now, I'll be sure to look for that answer as I read. Then, when the poet says, I like to think some boy's swinging them, I wonder whether this is why those birches are bent. Is it because that boy's swinging on them? No. That real line tells us, the next line tells us the real reason. The next line tells us the real reason is these trees are bent. The ice storms, which cause the branches to be loaded with ice and weighed down. I'm going to write a star next to these lines since they answer my question. And then I'm also going to type in here, why are they bending? Ice storms hold them down. That ice is gripping on them and pulling them down. So let's keep moving on. And this is just a little biography about our poet, Robert Frost. So Robert Frost, born in 1874 to 1963, was a popular poet, highly regarded for his realistic portrayals of nature and the rural life. His descriptions of New England settings, landscapes, and wildlife get the reader to think about deeper social issues and philosophical themes. So how he's writing about nature is supposed to get us to think about how we're connected to each other and philosophical questions, things that we might not normally think about in normal conversations. So let's look on this next paragraph, which is a line. But I was going to say, when truth broke in with all her matter of fact about the ice storm, I should prefer to have some boy bend them as he went out and in to fetch the cows. Some boy too far from town to learn baseball, whose only play was what he found himself, summer or winter, and could play alone. So why would the narrator prefer for the trees to have been bent by a boy swinging on them? Because it says he would have preferred that. Well, I want you to think, as we keep reading, why he'd want that instead of that ice. That ice, if you remember, is beautiful. So why does he say he would much rather have a boy bend them by swinging? One by one, he subdued his father's trees by riding them down over and over again, until he took the stiffness out of them. And not one but hung limp, not one was left for him to conquer. He learned all there was to learn about not launching out too soon and not carrying the tree away clear to the ground. He always kept his poise to the top branches, climbing carefully with the same pains he used to fill up a cup to the brim, and even above the brim. Well, what I think about this is that it's something I probably would have done as a little kid, and so maybe it reminds him of what he did as a little kid. Maybe it reminds him of swinging on birches when he was a child, and he would like to go on swinging again. So let's see if that idea matches as we continue reading. Then he flung outward, feet first with a swish, kicking his way down through the air to the ground. So was I once myself a swinger of birches. So see, he was making a text-to-self connection. He was showing that this is what he used to do. And so I dream of going back to be. So he wants to go and do this again, even though he's an adult. It's when I'm weary of considerations, and life is too much like a pathless wood, where your face burns and tickles with the cobwebs broken across it, and one eye is weeping from the twigs having lashed across it open. So it's saying right here that eye is weeping, you're crying because a twig, a stick, has lashed across it. It's whipped you in the face. Now, it doesn't sound too enjoyable, but it is something that's going on. It brings back those memories of him being a kid. I'd like to get away from earth a while, and then come back to it and begin over. May no fate willfully misunderstand me, and half grant what I wish and snatch me away not to return. Earth's the right place for love. I don't know where it's likely to go better. I'd like to go back climbing a birch tree, and climb black branches up a snow-white trunk toward heaven, till the tree could bear no more, but dipped its top and sent me down again. That would be good, both going and coming back. One could do worse than be a swinger of birches. So why does our narrator want to go swinging again? Well, it's because it's a metaphor. He wants to get away from life's hardships for a while. He's saying life's pretty hard, and back when he was a kid, it was pretty easy for him to just enjoy nature, for him just to climb on trees and figure, hey, this is all I have to worry about right now. Now, what are some questions that we've been able to answer? Well, we had this question all the way up top. Oops, but those are dots. Whoa. Okay, let me try getting rid of those dots and see if that will fix it for us. There we go. So this was one question that I had, was why would the narrator prefer to have been a boy swinging on them? And we found that answer, if you remember, all the way down in 42 and 43. So I'm going to put that right here, lines 42 and 43. And what was it again? Well, remember, it reminded him of when he was a child, and he wants to go swinging on birches again. So that's our answer for that question. And let's make it a little bit larger for that 14 or 16. And what was another question that we were confronted with? Well, remember another one was we asked, why does this narrator want to go swinging on Birches? He's an adult, so why does he want to go do this childish game? And we had that question from line 42 is where we were wondering it. So let's add that question for us. Why does the narrator want to go swing again? And remember, it's a metaphor. He doesn't give us the exact reason. He doesn't say, this is why I want to go swinging. So we have to infer. And he's saying life is really hard. It's those weary considerations. It's what he's worried about. Life is too much like a pathless wood, where your face burns and tickles with the cobwebs broken across it. So that's our metaphor. He's saying life is really difficult. And so he wants to go back to that simpler time of where he just had to worry about those birches. We have that line 48 to 49 right here is where he's telling us. Now, I want to see, is there another question that we could answer? Well, in lines 50 to 59, down here at the bottom, we have this question. We have, that I came up with, why does the narrator not want to leave the world behind forever? So let's type that question down. And where it came from is it came from lines 52 to 50, or 50 to 52. And so we see it right here, and then come back to it and begin over. And may no fate willfully misunderstand me, and half grant what I wish and snatch me away not to return. So he's saying he doesn't want to just leave this world of birch bark behind forever. And so what is it? Well, his answer is he feels this way because he believes that Earth is the best place to find love. Now, we see it right here. Earth's the right place for love. Now, it doesn't necessarily sound like he's talking about love like finding a wife, but it talks about, it seems to me, love as just enjoying something simple, enjoying everything around us. All right, guys, that is how we decipher a poem. We ask those questions, and then we think about where those answers might be located inside it.